Hello and welcome to the Real Estate Regroup Show. I am your host, LJ Walker. Today, I'm kind of excited because I want to share my trip to Scottsdale, Arizona. It's now becoming a real estate hotspot for a couple investors, retirees, and of course, other professionals who want to escape the hustle and bustle of many major cities like California, New York, and Chicago. Okay. It's actually beginning now, Scottsdale, to attract people who want a car-free lifestyle. I still think that a car is somewhat necessary, but they do have plenty of buses there, and it is walkable. It's just hot. That's basically it. But this suburb of Phoenix is actually turning into a city, a small city, instead of just being a suburb, believe it or not. I went there to see the transformation for two reasons. One, I wanted to attend the Alternative Asset Investor Summit, which I did. And then two, because I'm funding 3 flips out there. And so since I haven't been to that part of Arizona, I said, well, let me go there and get acclimated and see what's happening and see what's going on, before becoming a private lender for those particular properties, right? So that's what I did. Now, first I'm going to go over the summit, and then I'm going to tell you guys what other things that I may have noticed when it comes to Scottsdale, Arizona. First of all, this summit, the Alternative Asset Investor Summit, it's primarily for people who are busy professionals who want to get into real estate. Okay. It's also, there are a lot of people who have retirement accounts that can invest in real estate, but their money is just sitting in their accounts, not doing anything. So basically, the speakers introduce you to what you can do with your money. Some of them have products, some of them don't. It really, honestly, I didn't feel like too much of a push to go and invest in one thing or another, or in anyone's business, because some of the vendors actually weren't speakers, and some of the speakers didn't have anything to sell, honestly. They just spoke about themselves and spoke about what they're doing and what you could do in order to make money. Okay, one of the speakers was the Real Estate Guys. That's a popular, long-running radio broadcast that turned into a podcast. I think they still do radio though, and they also have a YouTube channel. So they were up there, and then also Pace Morby was up there, and they really didn't promote anything, because everybody, well, let me not make that assumption. Most people who have been in real estate know those two people or those two groups anyway. Okay. The people who are new, which I doubt very much, but they didn't know who they were. But, people who are new, yes, they did say, you can follow me on Facebook, YouTube, Instagram. But there really wasn't a push to say buy my book or join my course. And as a matter of fact, I don't even think those two have those available anyway. Well, Pace might have a book, but regardless, moving along. So, yes, basically, it was for, it wasn't too much of a push. It was more informational. And then, yes, the vendors did have different material for you to invest in. Again, I didn't feel as though there was a push. There wasn't a, come to my table sort of thing. It's you go to the table, you read whatever, is on their backboards. And they may greet you and say hello, and then you can continue and have a conversation and decide whether or not you wanted to do business with these people or you don't. That's basically how I felt about it. Mainly what was presented, both in speaking and also with the vendors, is a way in which an investor can invest without dealing with tenants, toilets, and there really wasn't a need for massive capital either. They also showed you how you could, for example, create your own fund if you wanted to. So let's say you saw a deal that you know is great, but you don't have enough money to do it. They basically showed you ways in which you could raise funds. And plus, because there were networking sessions available, there were breaks, and then there was lunch, and then there was also the quote-unquote after party, if you will. Then that was another way in which you could team up with someone, meet someone who you could later team up and then, do deals together, buy properties together. All right. So that's basically the gist of it. So let me just tell you what the sessions covered. The speakers talked about mortgage notes, which I'm into, REITs, which I do have, buying businesses. Now I own my own business. I haven't bought anyone else's business, and I'm not necessarily sure if I want to go down that route as of yet, maybe later on in the future. And then of course, other things as well that I've already covered. Now, if you wanted to take, let's say, this is really more for people who want a hands-off approach. Maybe you have $100, maybe you have 1,000, 5,000, 10,000, and you want to get it working for you, then yes, there was a vendor for your need. All right. And some of the vendors, even if, let's say, you didn't have enough, if you asked, they could refer you to someone else. All right. In addition to all of that, there was legal and accounting services there, as well as, self-directed IRAs, solo 401ks, and even HSA, companies that did that, so that you could have that money grow tax-free, the money that you invest in real estate. So I would say for this, I don't think it was for somebody who, let's say, didn't know anything at all about real estate. Like if you are fresh out of the pond, brand spanking new, this is not the place for you. You would have definitely had to have read a book or two before attending this event, or you would have had to, let's say, go to a real estate meetup, or educate yourself on something before you actually come. You could be someone, let's say, who's never invested in real estate, and that's okay. Like if you never invested in real estate and you wanted to come here and get your money working for you, then yes. But the education that you need, even though you would gain education here, I would say that it's more for people who are at a moderate level to an advanced level. It's not somebody who's never lived in a house. It is not for somebody who's never read a book or a magazine, or it's not for you. If you are somebody who, you spoke to somebody on the street corner about real estate, and that's your knowledge, no, then this is not the place for you. This is a place for somebody, like, again, when I say beginner, it would be somebody who's read a book. They may not have invested anything. They may not have ever lived in a house, but they've actually sat down and read a book or two. Then you come to this conference. That's the type of place this is. Okay. Yes, networking. Again, I have to go back to that, because with the networking, I have to admit, I didn't really network as much as I would have liked, but I did interact with a few people outside of the vendors. And actually, before I even got to the event, I was already networking, because I was talking to those Uber drivers. Yes, there are buses. However, For me to take the bus from where I was to where the event actually took place, it would have been over an hour, and I didn't want to be bothered with that because the event started at 9 o'clock. Now, some of you may wonder and say to yourself, well, why didn't you stay closer to the event? Because when the event was announced, all of the rooms were taken. So then I looked at the hotels nearby that were in walking distance, and many of them were taken also. So I was really upset and frustrated. Like I put in, there was one hotel, I think it had like 5 rooms, it said. By the time I put in my credit card number and everything, they said, oh, no more rooms. We can't accept your credit. We can't accept your money. So I was really upset. So I looked at, something further down, but that was like, it was still like a 30-minute drive. And then there was no activity or anything like that nearby. And I was like, oh, I don't think so. So I did stay right in front of the Entertainment District, not too far from Old Town, Frontier Town, whatever you call it. And yes, within walking distance to a mall, because that's how I do, and I figured, listen, the taxi fare is tax deductible anyway. My Uber, Lyft, whatever, is tax deductible anyway. We're talking real estate in the car. Believe it or not. Yes, I'm asking them questions like, hey, are you a longtime resident of Scottsdale, Arizona? How long are you originally from here? Oh, you're from out of town? Oh, how long have you lived here? Oh, what have you seen? What neighborhoods is this neighborhood? Is this a condo? Is this an apartment? I'm asking all of the questions. I'm getting all up in the business because like I said, there were 3 flips that came across to me, and I want to get as much information as I can to basically fact check the people who were presenting this particular deal to me. You understand? Well, all 3 deals. So, like I said, I network before I even get to the event. That's how I roll. And the beauty of it is that, sometimes when you're in the bus, you can't always talk to the bus driver because the bus driver has to pay attention to what he's doing, not only to the road, but to the other passengers getting on and off the bus. But when you are in a car with someone, they have your undivided attention and you have theirs. So that's the beauty of that. Even though the bus, yes, it would have definitely been cheaper because the bus out there is only $2. Okay. Next, from my own experience, what I saw in my short time there, and also from speaking to the people, let me just tell you why Scottsdale remained attractive to me as far as investing. First of all, Scottsdale is a whole lot cheaper than California and New York. Its real estate, comparative is way more affordable. Okay. Yes, the prices are going up, but it's still lower than New York and California. Plus, the taxes are also a lot more favorable. All right. Let me give you an example. In California, let's say you have a house that's 1,000 square feet. And then you try to find a house the same size in Arizona. It's going to cost less than half the price. Okay. Then the other thing with Arizona is that they don't have earthquakes like California. So you're avoiding that altogether. They don't have hurricanes like Florida. And then Scottsdale in particular, Scottsdale and Phoenix, they don't have snow. They do have snow in Flagstaff, but not in the lower parts there, So the downside of this is that it can get extremely hot, okay? I heard that the highest temperature was like 128 degrees. Believe it or not, when I left Saturday, October 26th, it was 100 degrees. I couldn't believe October 100 degrees. They said that that was unseasonably warm also. It normally comes down to 80. Oh, I mean, like, wow. Okay, so that, that for me was a shock, the weather situation. That sun was really beaming down on me. Let me tell you guys, I am, as you may know, I'm African American. You need sunscreen out there. You need sunscreen out there. They don't have, it's a desert, and they really don't have that many trees. They don't even have that much grass out there. It's a lot of rock garden. They do have cactus and, a few other plants. But real talk, there's not a lot of shade on the street, at least not, where I was staying. And then even when we were driving around, I didn't really see that many trees to provide shade. So sunscreen is necessary. Also, I got bitten by some mosquitoes. I was not expecting that at all. So I will say, if you do go, bring some bug spray. Okay. Now, the other thing is that as far as expense that I can see for housing, AC would definitely be a necessity. It's not optional. Don't even try it. No, you have to have AC, especially if you are menopausal like me, because we have our own summers by ourselves without the help of the weather. So you need an AC. You need to walk with a fan. Now, I will tell you this, though. What made it bearable for me is the fact that I didn't feel any humidity. So I don't know what the other months are like, but I will say the beauty of October was that there was no humidity. So even though it was 100, even though it was 100 degrees, I was kind of okay. All right. Now, what's the other thing that's beautiful about Scottsdale? I mentioned that they do have buses. Well, there's another thing that they do have, and that's shuttle service, which is quite extensive. The shuttle is free, and it comes every 15 minutes. Now, yes, it is a tourist shuttle, but it does cover a lot of territory. It doesn't cover everything. It doesn't cover all. But, you can hop on and hop off. Okay? And what I was lucky with is that the trolley stop and the bus stop stopped right in front of my hotel. So that was perfect. The bad part is there was no tree there, and there was no bus, like a bus stop covering. There was just the sign that said bus stop. So when that sun hit you, it really hit you. And you will turn different colors, sunscreen or no sunscreen. Just letting you know. Okay. Now, the other thing that I found out about Arizona in general is that it is more of a tenant-friendly state now than before. Okay. Landlords still have some say, but because of the moratorium, you can't evict people as fast as you used to. All right. So it'll take you maybe like 30 days is the average now after COVID when it comes to eviction. That's still better than New York, because New York, you could take a year, 3 years before you evict somebody. So, that's a plus or a minus depending on like who you are, right? Depending on who you are. Now, let's talk about the quality of life and fun things to do. All right. Scottsdale is really a suburb of Phoenix, but because so many people are moving there, it's actually becoming a city. There are a lot of amenities and there are a lot of outdoor activities. I was really shocked because honestly, Arizona was not on my radar at all. Yes, I've heard of the state. Okay. I actually met people who graduated from Arizona State universities. Okay. But they never really went on and on about it. They just said those were good schools and that was it. Okay. So, that's one thing to note. The other thing is one of the Uber drivers says that yes, they do have excellent health care out there and they have one of the Mayo clinics. They also have good care for cancer patients that's out there. So that is somewhat attractive. Another thing that's attractive about it is that it is close to other major cities like Las Vegas and Los Angeles. Those are very short trips away. I think they're like an hour by plane, and probably Amtrak goes there as well, I'm almost certain. So again, very convenient, right? And then Mexico also is not too far from Arizona as well. But by itself, there are a number of things to do. They have great restaurants. They have great Mexican restaurants. But I would have to say, when you compare it to New York has way more diversity. Our Mexican restaurants are not as good as theirs, and ours are more expensive than theirs. However, we have just about like every nationality you can think of. I did not get that flavor or that feeling when I was in Arizona. Okay, so that is somewhat of a drawback, if you will. It doesn't lack culture now, because you do have like Native American Indian shops. You do have a lot of, besides Hispanic restaurants, you have clubs and things like that. But when you compare it to a New York, it's not on that level. But I don't think you can get bored there, to be honest with you. But again, I was only there for a week, guys. I was only there for a week. And a lot of the information that I got was not just from the summit, where there were some people who actually invested in Arizona, and also from the Uber drivers, and also, believe it or not, from the hotel workers. Yes, when I say I talk to everybody, I talk to everybody. And they were giving me some information as well. As a matter of fact, they were telling me like how to get around on the cheap. They didn't even know that I was there on a business trip. Because you can't always, unfortunately, especially as a female, trust people with too much information. Sometimes, just say I'm on a business trip. You don't have to say specifically, what your business is about or what the other people's business is about. Sometimes you have to feel people out first. And then after you get comfortable, then ease on out and say, what it is that you do. That's how I roll. That's how I feel. That's how I protect myself. Okay, we do have to be comfortable out here. We cannot be too trusting, because when you're too trusting, sometimes there are predators around, and that's another thing. Even if you trust the person that you're speaking to, you don't know who's in earshot of the conversation that you're having with someone. So anyway, let me get back to the whole Scottsdale thing and just give you sort of like an overall how I felt about this. So Scottsdale, Arizona, Phoenix suburb, which is becoming a city in and of itself, is very appealing to both investors and potential residents. Yes, prices are rising, but it is still one of the more affordable cities that exist in the United States. They still, even though the city is spread out, they do have great transit options. Phoenix, by the way, does have a train, a railroad, just one line, but at least they do have that. And then the buses from Phoenix do go from Phoenix to Scottsdale, and then you can transfer over. Okay, you can, as a matter of fact, download the Valley Transit system. They have an app. You can download that on your phone, put money in the wallet, and you can pay for your train that way and for your bus that way if you don't have any cash. All right, just saying. It's not 24/7 though. That's another thing you gotta note when it comes to using the bus and trains out there. So just keep that in mind for right now. Things might change later, but that's how it is right now. They have moving along, they have a strong job market. They have a good educational system, a reliable health care as well. So the opportunities here for relocation and investing, or just for having a good old time, is endless, and I do see that things will be booming. Now is a good time. If you're thinking about doing anything in Arizona, now is a good time, I would say, to do it, and don't wait till later. Another thing too that I need to mention is that because so many people are moving, they say that the size of the properties are getting smaller to accommodate more people in some of these apartments anyway. All right, so that's something to note. The other thing is, I didn't really notice any high-rise buildings like how it is here in New York and in Chicago. We have a lot of tall buildings in Jersey and everything. I didn't see that out there, and I believe that they're doing it. One of the reasons why it's so sprawling and spread out is because they're trying to, quote unquote, preserve the view. They want to see, most people want that mountain view. Okay, so that's another thing to keep in mind when it comes to investing. So that's basically what I wanted to share with you. If you live in Arizona, feel free to add anything to what I just said that you want to share with the community here. Okay? And basically, that's it. That's all I got. Until next time, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and share this amongst your friends, because sharing is caring. Until next time, have a good night.